Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of WagMe TV. We have a update video coming to you for Aerodrome. Obviously, like most crypto projects, it's had a rough run lately. Along with Bitcoin, along with the larger crypto market. But we're here to talk through what we're seeing behind the scenes from a technical perspective, what we're seeing from the platform perspective. I think you're going to be surprised with some of what we found. So again, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. We know you guys like diving into the technicals behind the platform. So we're going to go into that today, give you guys a little bit more background. And to kick us off, I'm going to pass it over to Ev.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sia. I think with this episode, what we really want to do is we want to separate the AERO token and the price action that's happened there, the downward price action, in the actual Aerodrome platform, and talk about how there's still really good metrics when it comes to the Aerodrome platform. And to do this, we want to run through the metrics, the numbers that you can see here on Dune Analytics. So this is the dashboard that we've covered in past videos. It's really a total overview of the Aerodrome platform, TVL volume. And what I wanted to highlight to get started was this graph on the left talking about the volume of the Aerodrome platform. And so, yeah, as you can see, there's been very consistent volume within Aerodrome. We're up in the 1.25 billion range with the last 6 to 7 epochs, which, a lot of that could be users trying to swap out of riskier tokens. But at the same time, the largest pool that's getting used here is the wrapped ETH USDC pool, which tells me that there's a lot of users coming in here that are just trying to, get more access to the ETH token and to be able to use that within the base network as a whole. So, I think there's still really strong volume with, very key tokens within the base ecosystem when it comes to USDC and wrapped ETH. And so I just wanted to highlight that, talking about how the volume has been very consistent, at least for the last 6 to 7 to even 8 weeks on the Aerodrome platform. And then hopping over to on the right side here, talking about the swap fees within Aerodrome, we're also seeing very consistent swap fees throughout the platform. And so, I think when they added the Slipstream upgrade, which is essentially that Uniswap v3 clone that they put into the platform, that drastically reduced the fees because it's concentrated liquidity, it's less spread on these swaps, and so better for end users. And so we're seeing, since that upgrade, very consistent fees throughout the platform. So I wanted to highlight that because I think it's important to separate the AERO token and the actual platform and talk about which ones are having successes and which ones are, and the AERO token having some negative price action of late. But Sia, do you want to chat about the TVL numbers that we were just looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this goes along with what we're talking about and what you were just alluding to, but it's so important to separate the actual protocol and the platform from the token itself. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into that right now. So if we pull up Aerodrome TVL chart here on DeFi Llama, obviously it becomes pretty apparent that we've seen a significant drop off just in kind of recent time, especially from April to now in July. And obviously, just looking at this, by itself would be like, oh, that's really alarming. There must be less activity going on the platform. But kind of when comparing and contrasting this with the market cap as well, we see that it's more so about the actual price of the token and how that kind of coincides with the actual value in US dollars, right? Because this TVL is denominated in US dollars. It's not one-to-one Aerodrome, just talking about the value of Aerodrome. It's denominating US dollars, right? So it's very important to understand. Obviously, if you compare this to where it's at in comparison to other protocols on base, it's still by far the number one. It is almost, it's actually more than twice the total value locked of Uniswap on base as well. So it's still by far and away the leader. But I think if we go over here really quickly to the market cap and just kind of look at that same time frame, I think it becomes pretty apparent that a lot of this, especially when you layer it on top of what Evan just talked about, a lot of this is due to just simply the price of Aerodrome going down in value. not necessarily less people diving into the protocol, right? Not necessarily less people investing in the protocol and swapping and liquidity providing. It's more so about the fact that in US dollar terms, the value of Aerodrome has dropped substantially in that same time frame from April to July. So again, the main point is separating out the success of the token versus the success of the protocol. When we kind of peel back the layers, there's still a lot of activity on the protocol. Swap fees have relatively, even though dropped a little bit in recent epochs, has still stayed relatively, flat over time. And when we consider looking at the TVL versus market cap, yes, it's gone down, which seems, negative at first sight. But the fact of the matter is, it's gone down because of the token value and how that's denominated in US dollars, not necessarily because less people at a large scale are getting involved in the Aerodrome platform. So I think that's the important distinction, looking at both of these and contrasting the market cap and the total value locked over that period from April to July. And that plays into, what Evan said about how it's important to separate out the token versus the protocol. And the protocol is still being used, and from a basic standpoint, looks pretty healthy.
Yeah, I think that's a great rundown. And I think those are kind of the bullish numbers, or hey, don't panic numbers. This is, still a very successful protocol, especially on the base ecosystem. But I think what I want to talk about now is, some of maybe the negative sentiment or things you should be looking for when it comes to some of the less successful numbers on the base ecosystem. And so what I want to do here real quick is just kind of compare L2s. And, I think we saw AERO's price fall drastically. We see Aerodrome Finance continuing to have solid volume numbers. But when you look at the base ecosystem, the 1 month change is something interesting to look at down here. You're seeing the top four protocols, Aerodrome, Uniswap, Extra Finance, and Moonwell, having between 20% and even 40% loss in TVL. And this could be because of, certain meme coins or tokens within those protocols losing a lot of value and dragging that down, just like we talked about with the AERO token. But if you were to hop over to the Aerodrome network, another competing L2, you're seeing less of a drop with some of these protocols. And I think that's something to look out for is, while Aerodrome is keeping strong numbers through this downturn that's, really led by Bitcoin, how are we seeing other layer twos react compared to the base ecosystem? And so, I wanted to just point that out, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts, Sia, just because, when you look at Polygon as well, you're seeing, some negative numbers, some positive numbers. And so I think that's an important thing to call out is Aerodrome is reliant on the base ecosystem growing. And, just over the last month, we haven't seen great numbers out of the base ecosystem.
Yeah, I think it's such an important point to bring up because obviously anyone involved in DeFi has the free will to choose whatever protocol they want to get involved in, whatever chain they want to be on. Right? It's super easy nowadays, even easier than it was 2 years ago, to bridge from one chain to another. To swap whatever currency you want on pretty much any chain. And so I think, given that, it says more about where the money is flowing. Because it's not, they're not really chained to any, well, no pun intended, they're not chained to any chain or protocol, right? It's easy to get out, easy to get in and out. So the money is moving where people think they're going to have the best opportunity to make money off their money, right? And so I think that's always something you need to keep an eye on, because if if all of a sudden the scales really, really tip and, we see people moving to other protocols and other chains like by a mile as opposed to Aerodrome, I think that would definitely be Aerodrome and base. I think that would definitely be cause for concern. And if that continues as a trend. So I think that's something that not a lot of people think about. And I'm glad you brought it up. That's something that if you're really heavily involved in Aerodrome and base as a chain in general, you should be keeping tabs on where money's flowing in other chains and other protocols that are similar to the one that you're invested in, right? And so I think that's a great point because people can move money wherever they want, and they're doing it for a reason.
And I think yield farmers, especially people providing liquidity on base, are looking for the best yield that they can find, and it's usually not going to be in the layer twos that have decreasing TVL. It's going to be in the layer twos where yeah, more money's flowing into them because, that could essentially be incentives. You never know why more money's going to a layer two. Is there bribes? Is there, more incentive programs on a layer two for better yields on those platforms? So, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on going forward.
100%. I think it's a great point to bring up and something that people should definitely be watching. I think that wraps it up for us, guys. Hopefully this was an insightful update. Hopefully it's a little something different than you're hearing out there. We tried to bring you some more technical information, really show you, peel back the layers, what's actually going on behind the scenes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments what you think of this kind of downturn. Are you concerned? Are you still confident in AERO? We always love hearing the comments, and let us know what you think about the more kind of technical content. But like, comment, subscribe if you guys got value out of it. And until next week, wag me.